Welcome to the Leads Are Shit. This is a real estate magazine podcast with Andrew Fogliato. He is the owner of Real Estate Magazine and also the founder of Just Sell Homes, a real estate marketing company that does the marketing so you just sell homes. My name is Taylor. I am a team leader in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I run the Hack and Co team, and now we have a new level. We are both the highest rated team on Rank My Agent in our community, and I am the highest rated individual in the greater Edmonton area as well. And because I'm an F1 fan, that kind of feels
Yeah.
like you've won both the manufacturers championship and the drivers championship.
So you're one of them before, now you're both.
Yeah, since 2018, we've been the highest rated team, but I was out of production for a long time,
Oh yeah, yeah, right.
right? So like for me to be the highest rated individual would be kind of weird. But I've been back long enough now, and talking to past clients, talking to current clients, and lots of people be throwing up them 5 stars, and I love it.
You got to get that. Although, I mean, statistically, you actually will do better for like a 497.
Oh, I'm a
People
490.
believe.
No one trusts a
No,
five.
exactly. You got to have at least one that knocks you down a little bit.
Yeah,
So
you got to be real. These can't be
yeah,
bots.
can't be perfect. Can't
Can't
be
be
perfect.
bots.
Actually, I think with the one negative review I have is like I was gonna rate you 3 stars, but then you were a little rude when I brought it up, so I gave you one. I was like, so
Ooh.
you're saying I was gonna be three?
I love it. This is a negotiation. Would you accept a counter at 4 stars?
Yeah. Well, let's meet in the middle. Uh, but
I
yeah,
still have my
good team.
favorite review of all time, which is somebody 4 starred me, but wrote in the paragraph how impressed they were and their house selling in multiple offers. And the best thing
But
ever was a client of mine commented and said, "Sounds like a 5 star experience to me."
well, there's some people who just won't give a five on anything. It's like
Oh, those people, they should be taking surveys, not reviews.
yeah. Well, like do you know the do you listen to Jim Jeffries comedy
Mhm.
where he talks about rating people's looks between like 1 and 10?
Yeah.
And he's like, tens don't exist. Like that's the unicorn, but like that's the top end of the scale is like you don't see these people in person because they only exist in airbrush settings. These are not real people. That's a 10. And he's
Hmm.
like, that's what it's like 99% of the world is a 4, 5, or 6. But it's that funny, it's the same thing. It's like for some people, a 5 star doesn't exist because it could always be a little bit better, and five is perfect.
That there's room to improve is
Yeah,
the attitude for 4 stars. And that's
yeah,
why if you are working with people to get reviews, it's very key. You
yeah.
ask for feedback first. Hey, Andrew, is there anything that we should do better? Like, what should we do more of, do less of, or stop doing maybe? Or should we start something?
Yeah.
And most of the time, when I introduce this concept right after we've helped somebody win, then they come back to us and they say, no, you guys crushed it. And at that point, I can easily say to them, well, would you be open to supporting us with a 5 star review? I don't ask how I did in reviews. That's like how to get 4 stars.
Yeah. And Craig says calling me a four is the nicest thing anyone has ever said about me. It's important to
Hmm.
have self-awareness, Craig. That's really important.
And also, Jim Jeffries,
Yeah.
like, I don't know how his
Yeah.
calculation is, but the 1 to 10 scale is essentially 10%. So
Yeah.
if there's 9 billion people, that means that there's what, 900 million tens?
No, no, that's his whole thing is 90% of the world is a 4, 5, or 6 because that's
And my
average.
whole thing is Jim Jeffries doesn't understand a 10-point scale.
Yeah. But sliding. Yeah, well, I had another point now. I just forgot it. Couldn't have been that
That's
important.
fine.
Oh no, it's on customer service. So like if you're a four, we call it an elevator. So it's like, do you had I talked about this recently in a presentation, and it's like, and let's use you as an example. Like if I were you and looking at the volume you do, I would only do this once a month. If you're like lower volume, like say 20 deals a year, I do it after every deal, is to look back at the deal or deals once a month and be like, think of everyone we worked with, where were opportunities just to make their experience a little bit better? And then it's like, okay, going forward, we're going to add that in. That's how you get to 5 star service is it's not like I'm going to re-engineer my entire thing. It's I'm going to look for this little thing. How can I elevate the experience? Which is why we call them elevators to like make it sound fun. Is like, how can I add an elevator to this? And it's just that little like, okay, I'm just going to add this much to here. Where are those opportunities? And it's literally like have everyone sit down and be like, okay, how this month were the people we were with? What could we have done that would have made their experience just a little bit better?
Hmm.
Like for my clients back, I remember back when I sold, we had a client, and this is like the example I was using actually during the presentation was like, and to date how long ago it was that I sold, the home inspector gave them a CD for their home inspection result. And they were very upset because they wanted paper. And they're like, I wouldn't have hired him if I known I was just going to get a CD. And so I just took the CD, drove to Staples, printed it out, put it in a $5 binder, brought it back, and they were like, they called my broker, again, not understanding how the real estate industry worked. They called my broker and told him to give me a raise because my service was so good.
And did he?
No, no. Actually,
I-
technically it did because that deal, so I had one of those splits that was like 60-40 until this much, and then you go to like 95-5, and
Hmm.
that deal put me over. So technically, I did get a raise then. But yeah, no, he did not. He just thought we were all salaried. Like he thought at the time I was with Remax, he thought like Remax paid my cell phone bill and my car bill, and like that was how it worked. And I was like,
Interesting. I wonder.
no.
Yeah.
I'd be
So
curious how many people
at
just
the home
don't to
inspection,
this
you
day
were
know.
saying that this kind of changed the situation, right?
Yeah, because it was just that little thing of it wasn't this huge thing I did, right? Like I literally just printed paper out and put it in a 3-ring binder and draw it took me 20 minutes. And it's like I ran into him a year later and he still brought that up of just like
Well,
the impact that had.
well, thank you for coming back around for me because when you're telling me that you look for these little things to improve, right? For me, I'm almost like I feel like you're almost like you're negative. Like maybe you're Mario and I'm Wario because I look at it the other way.
Wario
I
is
think
my
that we
Mario
should
Kart character.
nice. I think that we should decide what matters most and focus on that. And for me, what I did is I developed what we call the remarkable buying experience and the remarkable selling experience with that target. What do we have to do to be remarkable? What do we have to do to be so good that it is probability likely that the people that we work with are going to give us 5-star reviews? And that was the coolest thing about leaving production was that I was able to deliver over 85% of our experiences resulting in 5-star review through rookies. And that was something where I kind of knew we had it because
So
like what
now, if you look at that as your baseline of this is our every deal, this is the level of service. Now, once a month, add in a meeting with your team where it's how can we take any part along this line of service that gets 5 stars and make it this much better next month? Again,
yeah,
it
but
doesn't
how
have to be this much
the,
bigger.
the question I have is what does 6 stars get you?
Oh, you'd have to measure it against something, and that would be rate of referrals.
Yeah, so now you're talking about something I want to solve.
Yeah,
So is it experience that drives referrals? Because I don't think it is. I
I think it's
measured
part of
this.
it.
Well, I think that somebody who writes you a good review is a candidate to be a refer because
Yeah,
they meet the 1 out of 2 criteria. So the one part of it is can they articulate your value? Now, well, I guess there's 3 points. The second thing is are they considered an authority in their friend group? Because even if they can articulate your value, but nobody has respect for them in their friend
well,
group,
if they're
it's
the
not going to
clown.
work.
Yeah,
And then the third thing is do they have a high frequency of coming into contact with people? Because most people that work a regular 9 to 5, they hang out with the same group in the audience, and then they go and take their kids to the same places on the weekend and talk to the same people. Whereas if you get like a hairdresser or a mechanic or many other people that don't work in that 9 to 5, we call them hubs, and they're more often an authority. And so if you get a 5-star referral from somebody who fits that group, holy dynamite.
but
So
the
that's
five
what I mean
star
is I can't do a
service
correlation
is the baseline.
from a change in my service to referrals.
But it's back to the thing where like no one will refer you if it isn't perfect, like, right? Like, because essentially what it is like, and I think it's the same thing we're talking about, but it's like, how can we keep making it better and improving that experience so that people are excited to give that experience to someone else? Because that really what you're doing is you're making them look like the hero for referring you over. They're like, oh yeah, no, we ended up using Taylor. It was amazing. Like he got us our dream home, got us more than we thought. Thank you so much for sending him over. That's what you're trying to create is that like confidence in people and that thought behind it of like, I know they're about to have the best experience.
And
That's what it's
I
referring over.
definitely understand pursuing the
But
best
it's
experience, and I
basically
think
what
I
you're
got
saying.
to a
Stop.
measurable best.
Yeah. You can
But the
always do
water level is
better.
going to rise in
Always do
ways that
better.
I can't predict. Like the
Yeah.
person that wanted you to go CD to paper, the next one's going to want you to go to from CD to digital,
Yeah.
and to get like we would end up making better paper copies based on the past.
Yeah.
So I'm very much focused on where the game is going to go. But the other thing is I do want to decode with you like what it takes for people to become referrers.
Yeah.
This is something that's worked really well in my business, and I think that I can maximize that, and I want to revisit that. So if we have time today, let's do it. Let's swing back to this at the end of the
Deal.
episode and say like, what makes a good referrer? How do you know that that's the case?
Yeah.
And then
Because we
how do
actually
you
have a
tap
topic to
them?
talk about today.
Well, you were talking about a scenario, right?
Yeah. So the scenario essentially, which has come up, and I'm sure a lot of you have experienced too, is someone who's listed a home 30 days ago, no offers, showings have slowed down or are non-existent now. What do you do? And
Mm.
so that's what we want to talk about today is like both from a sales and marketing perspective. And then a little bit client service would come into that as well, because how you handle the client during this, which would increase your potential refers. Because like if you're at 30 days on the market, no offers, you're going an uphill battle to get refers even, right? Like the odds of them still sending you referrals at that point is going to be very dependent on how their experience goes and are they blaming you for the situation or the market? And I
Okay.
think that matters in there too, is where's their headspace on it?
Yeah, so we're going to need some more nuts and bolts on this, and I think that we could kind of build it out.
Yeah.
There's people right now that are talking to us in our live audience. So we're here on
Yeah.
Zoom right now, but you might be catching this on YouTube. And if you're in your Zoom audience, I love it when you shout it out, especially where you're from, because we got Colleen from Montreal in here. That's always great. We got some what we call series regulars, like Craig Knopfel. Am I saying it right?
Knopfler. Knopfler?
Knopfel. He corrected me.
Oh, did he? Did I have I
Yeah,
been getting it wrong all this time, Craig?
all this time.
Noftel. Yeah. No, apparently
Oh,
I just
Knopfel. I still screwed it up.
yeah.
Um,
You've been
okay.
Knopfler for so long in my head that and now looking at your last name, I was like, why did I get that wrong? Um,
Mm.
yeah.
So Knopfel,
All
is that
right.
where? All
Well,
right. We
maybe we
got.
just change it.
And we could have you up here. So,
Yeah.
and remind us where you're from. Like we talk to Craig all the time, and
Yeah.
I still can tell you where he's from.
We got Miles here, Lethbridge.
Miles is Lethbridge. I know that he's from
Yeah.
Lethbridge.
Yeah.
Oh,
We have Marissa
Marissa
from
from London,
London.
Ontario.
Nice.
I also
Thanks,
know
you
that
guys.
Connie's in the house, and Connie is
Yeah, Ron from
from
Vancouver.
Lake Country,
Yeah. Ron's regular. You've been here
Cottage
a lot
Country.
lately. Yeah. All right. And we got
Yeah,
some new
so good to
people
see
too.
everybody.
Got a
So
few
now, when
newcomers.
you hear this, 30 days no showings, there's going to be some knee-jerk reactions, but let's start to fill in some details.
Yeah.
So I think that there's plenty of markets right now across Canada that are somewhere between 45 and 60 for average days on market.
Yeah.
So let's say that in this fictitious market, we're going to be around 50, 55 days. Let's call it 55 days on market. All right.
Okay.
So it's 55 days on market. Then you're 30 days in. You're in, let's just use it as whatever average price is for your market. This is it
Okay.
for a single family detached dwelling. Um, and without any other information, it's really tough to say, but we can say that you have some things to check in order to determine what's happening.
Yeah.
I know that it takes three things to sell a property, and that is pricing, which we all know, show experience, tough to pull the trigger on a house that feels gross to you, and does anybody know about it, which is marketing. So if you are starting to check these things and saying, well, you know what? Like for me, I can say that we've sold hundreds and hundreds of properties. We dialed in. We talk to Andrew and you guys all the time about our marketing. We know what's up. So marketing is something I could rule out.
Yeah.
But then how do you talk about show experience? I really think you're going to have a tough time talking about it if you don't get feedback. So, are you getting feedback from the showings that didn't give you offers? Is one of the big questions that I have. And then I'm going to go through steps after that to try to determine what the problem is. But I'm really checking in those 3 points.
No.
Do people not like how it shows? Am I seeing that in the feedback? Does not enough people know about it? Like, do I have I not had a property like this before? Am I still trying to work out my marketing? And then also, if people are coming through all the time and they're not buying it, those people aren't going homeless. They're telling you something through their action, which is the market doesn't like the value you're proposing. They either need the same house for less money or more house for the same money. Like they need that value relationship to change. So those are kind of my first thoughts of what to check. Is there anything that like when you're checking marketing, what would be the kind of drop down menu of the things that you're checking?
One, it's just how many views are they getting, and then like an engagement rate around that too. So like if you're getting 1 million views on a property and zero inquiries, something is wrong either with the actual presentation of it, or it could just be you have the price in there and everyone's like, there's no way that's worth that. And they're
Mm.
just writing it off right away. The other side of it, especially from a marketing standpoint, is how does it measure up against the other homes they're looking at right now? And I don't think enough people do that in the marketing look is like, all right, are there like everyone's looking at comparable properties. No one's like, okay, there's one house I'm going to look at, that's it. They're going to compare it to every other house in the price range or in the neighborhood. And you have to think objectively about how that stacks up. Of like, does this one have a better backyard or does this one have better curb appeal? Like those things matter from a marketing standpoint. And how are you gonna kind of position it against them? And sometimes it's like that. You have to reposition it against those homes. Um, like we had a home sat back at this beginning back I was selling. It was another agent in my office listing, but she kind of took me under her wing. This is when I started, almost like in a mentorship program to help sell it. And it was like this really old home, and we marketed it for a long time as a fixer upper. Because it was like anyone buying it needed 100 grand, and it sat for like 2 months. And then we're like, what if we just took that part out and just switched it to it's an old home and did not talk? And yeah, literally like within a week of us changing the marketing, we didn't change the price. We just changed the marketing and we did not talk about this home needing work anymore. Sold in a week. And like basically the difference was like the work scared people off knowing it's there, even though everyone objectively knew it needed a lot of work. But it was like us acknowledging it needed work, I think made people feel that it was like 3 times the amount of work. Because they were like, oh, if an agent saying it needs work, then it must need a lot of work. Right? It was
I
that
think that
type of
that's a
thing.
spectrum, actually. So
Yeah.
imagine that you were between two weight classes, right? At one weight class, you're going to get smoked. At the next weight class, you're going to do really well. But if you're in between, it's kind of tricky. And it could be that when you were saying it needs work, you were signaling this group that is going to do work. And they're like, this doesn't need enough work for us to make money.
No.
And you were also signaling to a group that would do a little bit of work that this is too much work for them.
Yeah.
And then once you got on alignment, it turned out the group that was more likely to buy you was the group who didn't look for properties that needed work. Instead, they likely came to the market with expectations that were higher than their budget and
Yeah.
decided that condition was where they were going to compromise.
Yeah. Also, there's a comment here in the chat from Ed about many agents not providing feedback to prevent showing the buyer's hand, like it, want it, love it. So this is actually when I was selling that my office did really well. Um, as they did agent caravans on houses like that in the office, but with the idea of going to give them real feedback. Because like if the agent was a little stuck about like why something wasn't selling, let's bring 20 of the agents from the office through and let's all provide our feedback on what we think it is. And then they take that to the seller. So it was like it
So
doesn't
it's
even have to
people
be
that don't
with.
have active buyers, but are other realtors that are giving you professional perspective.
Exactly. So they would just like cycle a ton of us through the house in one shot. And sometimes it'd be like, hey, I'll have donut. Like actually, it wasn't my office, but I saw another office do that's what I saw. They did their office meeting for one of those listings one day. As they're like, hey, our office listens at this street here. And they just did the office meeting from like the kitchen. And they're like,
Hmm.
all right, guys, for the next little bit, the next part of this meeting, I want you guys to all walk around the house and I'll come back here with something that they can do to make this house more saleable. I was like, I'm
That's
like, it's a good exercise. You could do that with a team, you could do that with a brokerage, but like the physical buyers coming through isn't the only way to get feedback because it is hard to get feedback right now from consumers. Like I wouldn't give honest feedback half the time. Like I
hmm.
wouldn't lie to them, but I would be very cagey with my feedback because again, it could impact. Now, if my clients were absolutely not interested in any way, then I would give honest feedback.
Oh, yeah. So this is
Yeah.
great. Let's talk about feedback first, and then I want to hit a couple other things. Also, say hi to Nicole from Tabor, also Alberta. And so feedback is so tricky. Like,
Yeah.
if we could put people, remember that Ricky Gervais movie where everybody had to tell the truth?
Yep. It wasn't a good
Let's say that
movie,
we
but
could
I
put
remember it.
all the agents that walk through a property in that movie and they would give us like direct feedback, like you were proposing by having a group of agents go through.
Yeah.
But they're actually with clients. We would hear a variety of things, but if you could only ask one question, the only question to ask is at what price is your buyer a buyer for this house? Because then you can see the lower the number, the less they like it, and the higher the number, the more they like it. But that would be a situation where they couldn't lie.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about like what feedback is supposed to do. All right. So, what it's supposed to do is to determine whether or not you're fairly close to the market by looking at the property through buyers that can pull the trigger. In order to get there, you actually have to rule out the other people. So, over time, we came with some clear questions so that we can get enough information from agents without them feeling like they would tip their hand, except by giving them one place where they constantly bail. So, the first question that we ask is, how did your showing go? So this is about show experience. Does it smell like pets at the top of the stairs? Awesome. Tell us all about it. We're going to tell the seller they're going to rent the rug doctor. We are going to burn no more showings. So let's just clear that general feedback out of the way first. How did your showing go? Second is, did your clients like it? The problem that we run into is we end up getting feedback from agents that are meeting a web lead for the very first time in this house. They don't know that person. They don't know their criteria. They're literally just using this as a place to meet. So if they don't like it, why would we care about anything else they had to say? Like,
Yeah.
they're not the buyer for your house. They're not even in the general profile for it. This is a realtor mistake. It's a problem with our industry, and it's just like something we have to deal with. I'm sorry that your house had to be a shoe store this afternoon.
Yeah. It's a conversion tool.
Yeah. And then the third question is where the real meat starts. And if you only could ask one question to realtors that would lie, I would still use this question. Is this property, would you consider this property in your client's top three?
Yeah.
They don't really feel like they're tipping their hand too much to give that answer, right? But they do feel as though that would mean that you're going to let them know if you get an offer from somewhere else. And then if it does it, like the top three is like, really, if you're getting showings and not offers, if you are not getting consistent top threes, that's something that you can tell your client really, really easily. Hey, listen, we're not getting top threes, so we're not close enough to the market. But everybody who does come through says the property shows great, and people are coming through. So we know the marketing's working. We also know the show experience is great. This is a pricing thing, right? So
I
that's
think
really how I think that feedback should work.
this is also where I think a lot of people discount the value of it is where networking with top producers in your own market is important, is to get honest feedback as they go too, right? Because like let's say you and I were competing in the same market. We're close enough friends that like if you called me, I would give you that honest feedback. I'd be like, no bullshit, here's what it is.
You're also a
Like,
strong player, though, so you wouldn't give
yeah.
me feedback. You'd tell me, I'll tell you later.
Yeah, well, or
because
I'd word
I
it in
can't
a way that's
compromise.
useful to you without compromising my client. I'd be like, I might say it's not necessarily for them, but here's some things that might help you, right? But like it's, do you have people who will give you honest advice or honest feedback? And if you don't have a relationship with other agents in your market, and it doesn't have to be a lot of them, but do you have a handful of people that will give you that? And I
Yeah,
think
how
that's
do the
important.
top players in your market feel about you because you'll see them more than anyone else?
Yeah. Well, that's why you specifically want those people who do a lot of showings, who do a lot of that
Hmm.
type of thing. And not necessarily a lot of showings, a lot of showings that turn into buys.
Yeah, you really
Yeah.
want top buyer agents in your marketplace. Um, and to go to top agents is the mistake because most of them are listing agents.
Yeah.
But if you find number one on their team, that person has probably got the best quality buyers for you.
Yeah.
So now when we're going through so basically the idea is to get valuable feedback from everybody who walks through the door. You have to figure out how to do it. If you're just trying this through showing time, you're probably wasting your time. If you are doing this only by email, we'll take a look at your response rate. Are you
Yeah.
doing this by text? Are you doing this by phone? Find a way that in your market you can get like at least to find out whether or not these people like whether or not the buyer was even a candidate. Do you like this house?
Yeah.
Rule out show experience. How did your showing go? And then is it in the top three or not? You don't need anything else.
Yeah. And
Asking
then,
other agents how they feel about price is often a mistake.
well, they're not the ones writing the check.
Well, the other thing is they're going to lie. Like my favorite feedback. So we do, and I'm really thinking about pulling it. Like, how did you feel about the price compared to other similar properties nearby? Is the kind of caveat.
Yeah.
But the problem is my clients listen to these people and they don't play for our team. They're all going to tell you they're all going to tell you it's fine because they're not looking close enough. And then
You,
they're like, man, 10 agents told me my price was fine. And it's like
um,
those 10 agents aren't your agent.
there'd be an interesting thing if you could get the data on it of like agents who said the price was fine, and then those that came in with an offer below, and then what it ended up selling for. Like, if you compare, like, if you could say, like, hey, the average agent's gonna say it's this, their offer usually comes in 5% below whatever that number is, and it usually settles for 2%. So if everyone's saying it's a million, you're probably gonna get offer at nine, it's probably gonna sell for like 920. Right? Like there's probably data if you could actually put that all together that shows what that average spread is, but that'd be really hard to collect
Hmm.
accurately over time, right? Like that's one of those things where it'd be great to have, but it'd be hard. The other one, and Ron mentioned this in the chat, is like open houses are good for feedback because people walking through aren't as good at like hiding what they feel. Like
Yeah,
I
but they're also not
remember
informed.
No, but you get the feeling for what they think, right? Like I did one, I noticed like this is actually when I sold my first house, like when I was an agent again. My first listing I ever took was selling my own house. Um, it worked. But it was interesting. We had painted our cabinets to a darker color because we thought it worked better. And almost every buyer that came through from like one specific demographic who was actually the likely buyer for that neighborhood because like culturally speaking that neighborhood was going in one direction, and that like everyone from that demographic who walked through immediately saw it was like, oh, dark cabinets, not for me. Like someone just turned around and walked out, and it was like an immediate thing. No, instead of
Mhm.
repainting the cabinets, I just sort of pivoted into marketing to investors to rent it out, and that worked. But I noticed very quickly that the most likely demographic buying in the neighborhood did not like that color,
I love it.
and it was
I
like
see it like
universal.
wide angle and narrow angle. So
Mhm.
statistically speaking, well, first off, what would you value more? Would you value feedback from likely buyers or unlikely buyers? I think most people are going to say likely
Likely,
buyers.
yeah,
So that means that open house feedback is general feedback. So doing open houses on opening weekend for feedback is so good for getting that like wide angle stuff.
no,
And then when you have showings with other agents in your marketplace, those are a higher probability to be an offer. And the reason we know that is that less than 1% of homeowners have attended the open house to the property they buy. And that's because when they're top of funnel, they go to open houses. And now we live in a world where you're taking action, any house can be a private viewing in 2 clicks. So they don't have to wait for that barrier as much. So you'll say, okay, well, feedback from people that are working with agents is more probable buyer feedback.
And Colin says, how about contacting the other agent directly about their buyer client before confirming the visit? If it was me, I would not tell you almost anything outside of they're qualified and they're my client.
Yep.
Like,
So there's some things that are just out of the norm to the point where they're going to raise the wrong flags. So when you
yeah,
call somebody before they have a showing, that's like you want to walk up to their horse and kind of check the teeth, and they're going to consider that invasive and unnecessary because they're like, why do you want
yeah,
to know anything about my buyer? They might not even like this house.
yeah. It is a good way if you want to not do a showing.
Hmm.
Like I know that we had like it was a luxury listing I was helping out on back when I was selling, and that's how we got rid of most people who asked for showings. We're like, we need to see a pre-approval letter from your bank that you can afford. So it was like 10 million bucks. And every showing request that we looked and didn't seem serious, that got rid
Yeah.
of all of them.
Well, at that price range, all you got to do is call them back and say, when would you like me to meet you there? This
Yeah,
house does not have a lockbox, and I am the one who provides access. And you
yeah,
will really sort it out, especially for that stuff that needs to be exclusive.
yeah,
Um, let's keep going here. There's some people that don't provide feedback. We normally get about 80%, but we call relentlessly. So
yeah.
we feel as though feedback is more important or is so important that we actually spend time on it. And then there's other ways to kind of do this. And in this scenario, if we're 30 days on market, obviously I would like to have buyer feedback. We would like to measure things like how our marketing is working, whether or not the majority of the showings are happening from our marketing or the system. It should be
Yeah.
the system in most cases
The
because like
majority
I
of
have
showings, though.
5,000 agents in my marketplace. The likelihood I match with the buyer to this place, probably unlikely. So that's going to be part of it. And then also, is there other listings in this area in the same price range? And have you talked to their agents?
Yeah, how are they getting?
I talk to them all the time. If I'm struggling for showings, you better believe I'm going to be on your phone call. And
Yep.
I know that, yes, at some level, we're competing for an available buyer. But on another level, we're trying to basically solve. And if I can give you valuable feedback about my listing that will help you with your clients, and I can do the same, then let's go.
No.
So once I've finished confirming that, I should have a good handle on things because my showing feedback is going to tell me whether or not it's a showing experience problem. My showing feedback is also going to let me know whether or not we're in the top three at any level. In a market that's diminishing, where we're saying that it's like 55 or 60 days on market, what we'll normally find is that there's only one buyer for every two, three, or four sellers. When you take a look at a 90-day period, if there's 100 listings that have come that have left the market, don't care about the active ones. We don't know how those ones are going to go. But if there's 100 listings in the last 90 days and 30 of them have sales beside them and 60, the rest of them, 70 of them have either expired, terminated, or withdrawn, then you are in a like 1 to 3.5, 1 to 3, almost 4 market.
No.
So that means that if you are getting top threes, only first place gets an offer because buyers are so scarce.
No.
So if you're not even in the top three, you can confidently say that your pricing is off. So then you can work from there. But a lot of people, when they think about price changes, man, this is where you really open like a can of worms.
Yeah, like price changes to me too. It's such like it moves even more into this is a marketing play as opposed to like I'm pricing it at like because a lot of people price based on what they think it'll sell for. They don't
You,
price from a marketing
where's the
standpoint
light bulb
anymore.
button? Do we have a light bulb button?
And I can just like
This is the important element.
no,
Most agents think that a price change is a sales tool when it's actually a marketing tool. Don't use it for the wrong job. If you lower a property price by less than 1% of its value, don't bother. Okay?
no,
Because the buyers are going to look at that and they're going to do mortgage math. And mortgage math basically says that for every $6,000 you change, or for every $10,000 you change, it's about $60 a month. Who cares? Buyers are normally going to go up market to get more stuff for the same price instead of going down market to get a deal. We are no longer in the generation that's doing fine calculations about paying off this house. We're doing people that say, hey, can I afford this lifestyle?
No.
So if you use it as a sales tool by saying like, oh, it's a little bit of a better deal now because we're $10,000 less, or even a 1% change. A 1% change is the minimum in most markets to get the system to actually do the stuff. So when you're a new listing, you come to the market, everybody who has whatever you call it in your market, but like auto search criteria set up that drives either emails or a collab center or whatever they call the system where you are, that takes place. And I know in my market, when I have more than 350 auto search criteria matches, I'm going to expect 2 to 3 showings a week.
Mhm.
And so you should have some of those metrics. And then after that, you have to think about like, well, how much do you need to move to change things? Are you trying to say something different to the same people, or are you trying to talk to different people?
It has to be a number that gets like as soon as they see it, they're like, oh, I should look at that one again. Right? Like I would, and I don't have the data on this. That there should be a number like when you do it that drives second showings, right? It's someone who
No,
looked at it
driving second
before.
showings would be talking to the same group.
No, but a certain percent of them, if it shows well, but it was just the price issue, your price come down enough should make them go, I like it at that price, right? Like they're, it's
Oh,
not going to be all of them,
I love how
right?
you're bringing this. This is just great
Like
because for
it's,
me, I see it totally different.
yeah,
So I think if you're talking about a bespoke home, then it's about a pricing, like a pricing strategy. The most common one is called price anchoring. So you set a price where it's above what it should sell for, but and it's aspirational. But if there's a buyer that just loves that house, when you're talking about bespoke properties, they can afford to buy it.
yeah,
But then you move the price down, and now you're looking for a price change to influence the same group that's looking. But in this scenario, we're talking about average price. In average price, in like let's say that you're in a market that's $1 million, well, the buyers at 900,000 are different than the buyers at a million. It's a different group. It's like different fish in the same stream, and they're all moving by at a rate of about 2 weeks. So it depends on where you are, and you can measure this, but I can tell you that when my teammates sign a client, they're normally writing an offer 2 to 3 weeks from now.
yeah.
So this is fish in a stream. So when you change your price, you're actually changing where in the stream you are, and that could be where the fish are more likely to take your bait. So when you change from a million to 900,000, and some people would be like, who's doing 10% price changes? We're just talking about this as a theory.
Yeah,
Well,
extreme.
then you're totally going to be talking to a different group, and you should have a feel for where these marks are in your neighborhood. Because like I'm in a low price market. So my average is 550. When you're talking about houses, it's close to 600. And in that, it's $50,000 increments. So if I lower a price from 500 or from 600 to 575, I might get some new audience. But if I made it from to like the next pool below that at 550, everybody is new. So it's the same as having a new listing to that group. And that's what buyers really want is new deals. And they can come as new listings or new to you, meaning that the price has changed now into your range.
But I still think you want to consider those people who are from the first group, right? Like again, if the feedback otherwise is that they like the house, just not at that price, essentially, and you're coming down to price, what is the number that gets them back in the door? And maybe that's too low for your client to go to. But there
Mm-hmm.
is a number that gets everyone, not everyone, but you know what I mean? Like there is a number that gets those who would coming back.
Yep. And that's going to be where you select things in your market. You also might
Yeah.
be able to see this clearly in where you will or won't take listings.
Yeah.
So in your market, you might take something that should sell at 800 at 850, right?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't take it at 9. Well, now you know it's $50,000 increments in your market. You already know that.
Now,
So you can
before
make
you
one
change the
price change.
price, do
Mhm.
you ever email people who showed and give them a heads up that you're considering changing the price if their clients would like to consider it before you do it in the system?
See, we've been thinking about doing that, but then when I go back to, so we email everybody every price change, and we've done this for years and years. And the reason that I don't pursue people that have already seen the house is because of the low numbers. Like basically, I can say that it almost never happens
Yeah.
where somebody who showed the price or showed the house is then compelled by a price change to come back and becomes our buyer. So that's so low that I don't know that I would actually tell them in advance
Maybe I'm biased because
unless I
that's how
was in a
my
market that had more
second buyer
demand.
side deal. That's how I got it.
Sorry?
Maybe I'm biased because my second buy side deal when I was selling came from a situation like that where they couldn't get it at 425. And so like they're like, "Oh, I love the house, but not for 425." And they dropped it to 4. And they're like, "Now I'd buy it." And we got it at 397. It was just like that was how fast it went. It was like literally 425. They just like, "No, not a chance." Like they loved the house, but for their head, 425 wasn't it?
And I love the anecdotes. I'm just an
Yeah.
evidence dude. I need probability.
Yeah.
Now Ed Tracy's got a big brain. Where are you from, Ed? He's saying for sellers who are hesitant to adjust, it would be worth knowing the average adjustment to get the house
Yeah.
sold. And this is actually the other side of it. So the first thing is how to get enough information in order to decode it and say, where am I and why isn't this working? So
And you
is it
need
marketing? Is it
that
show
to convince
experience or
the
is it price?
sellers.
Well, part of it is you need to understand it. And then the next thing is what would need to change in order for this to be effective, which is where Ed is.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's what needs to happen up until now for my client to be on board with changes. Because what they complain about is I don't hear from my listing agent. And the number two complaint is the only time I hear from them, it's to change my price.
Yeah.
So you have to pave the way to being in this position way before then. So now we kind of talked about how to check the metrics and how to see where you are. And then in most cases, if you are a practice listing agent, you are solving for price every single time. Your marketing works. You already know when show experience is going to work. You coached the clients to bring a good listing to the market. You recommended the cleaner. You told them where to move the stuff. In some cases or some markets, you staged the property. So now we all know its price. So let's stop screwing around.
And I think you got
So
to prep them for a while leading up to a price change of like, here's what we're looking to do to get before, like to help us determine what the price change. Like, and I'd be starting that in the listing presentation of like, here's what we're going to market with, here's what we're going to do. If this is what we see, that's going to lead us to do this. And then when we make that change, here's what we're looking for during the next stretch to see if that's the right price. So you're already prepping them for the next one of like,
yeah,
if we
so you
haven't
got to
hit these
stay away
numbers.
from
Yeah.
doing some things that'll screw you later. So
Yeah.
one is my price. I don't have a price, right? You can have a price. The market can show evidence. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So then when we say that we have evidence of properties like yours selling here, normally people are going to tell us to set a price a little above those. And we can even tell them, hey, listen, the market's sliding from here. Yesterday's price and today's price might be different. But that's why you want to either do evidence or let them talk to you about your price and then kind of, or about their price and then kind of work it out.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is you need to talk to them about having a pricing strategy instead of just having a price, because otherwise it'll be tough to move them.
I think you have to really hammer home that price is a marketing tool early on, and it's not about what they're going to get. But Connie had a good comment here too, but sometimes they're sitting on the fence, but when they know that a price change is coming, they jump because they fear it will sell. That's why she reaches out to agents who have been asked to be kept updated. But that's the thing too, is like, are you asking agents, do you want to stay updated on this property? Just a little bit what we talked about last week of like having an option for consumers to get updates on a property.
So maybe that's the way I should change my strategy is I shouldn't notify everybody in advance, just the top threes, because
Maybe
that's what
that's
this
one of the
looks like to me.
question, but maybe that's one of the questions in your feedback is like you're saying like what was the one you were saying doesn't matter that they answer because they not
How
going
do
to
they
tell you
feel about
anyways.
price?
But maybe a more one is, would you like to stay update? Would you like me to keep you up to date on what's going on? Because if their clients are not at all interested and they think the price is ridiculous, they're not going to want updates. But if it's like within that realm of maybe the price today isn't there, but I'd like to get updated if there's some adjustments because my clients might be interested, that's valuable to know. So maybe
Okay, well,
that's
here's
one of
the
the
way that I
switches.
do it now, which is if they're in the like, so it's an assistant that calls for the feedback, and then if they
Yeah.
say they're in the top three, then I reach out to the agent.
Yeah.
But again, I'm looking at litmus tests. So I normally am asking one question, and how they answer is more important than what they say. And the question is, hey, I know your client's pretty interested in this. Do they want to know if we get an offer from somebody else? The way you hesitate, the way you answer that question, it gives me what I need to know. I'm going to let you know in advance of a price change. I think that
Yeah.
that might be a change I make with my system.
Yeah. It's worth trying and just seeing what
But
the
I
results
love
are
that
like.
question, man. Like that question tells me if those people are about to make an offer.
Yeah.
And
Because
it's the
like
way the agent reacts because the agent's like, shit, if this place sells, I got to go find something else they like as much.
because that's a lot of things. Like I worked with a lot of people and talked to like, oh, for the right price, I would consider that again. Right. And
Yeah.
it's that keep me up to date on what, because like think of how disappointed a client gets if they're like, oh yeah, let me know what's going on with that. And then it sells and like they're, especially if they're the one to tell their client, oh, I saw that one sold conditionally. What's going on?
Oh, they have the client files before the realtor does? I thought you
Yeah.
were going to watch this for me.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And then
awkward.
now you're like, oh shit. Like literally, like I got my license partially because our realtor cost us the house we wanted. That's a separate story. But the very long story short is we were submitting an offer and she didn't tell them it was coming. And half an
They
hour
signed.
before our offer got set, they sold a conditional deal lower than the offer we were sending.
Awkward.
Yeah, so I got my license, and here we are. Um,
Okay, I
yeah,
want to tie back here. So now let's talk about paving the way to have your client on board. So we know that you need to talk to them regularly. That's going to be one of the things that will get you in a better perspective. The other thing is we need to get them to engage because sellers that don't feel good about their listings look like that myth about ostriches that are afraid where they like stick their heads in the sand.
yeah,
Don't try to scare an ostrich. It doesn't work like that. They'll kick the shit out of you. Uh, but when it comes down to it, a lot of our sellers feel like that meme where, if it's not going well, they don't really want to talk about it. They don't engage. They seem aloof. They just
yeah,
are resigned to having their house listed. That's a bad position to be in. So instead, what we do is we only list properties on Thursdays because we measure. And then I'm back to them on Tuesday because that gives us Monday to basically get everything in and decode it from the weekend. On Tuesday, I come with my first update. I give them an update by bomb.
yeah,
What I want is for both decision makers to receive the original information with the same tone and inflection I'm actually using. Because otherwise, I'm going to tell the person that wants to move the most, because that's the person that normally gives me access. And they're going to take my great plan to their spouse, who's going to receive it as their plan. That is a problem. So Bomb was a real game changer for me. And what I normally do is I talk about what happened on opening weekend. And then on opening weekend, I'm just paving the way to the future. I'm giving them a tutorial of my listing update. Hey guys, you know what? Great weekend. We had some good showings. I've talked to a couple agents that seem like they're kind of interested. The showing feedback came back and we didn't get any top threes. And so it leads me to turn to the market. So, one, I definitely feel as though the showing traffic indicated our marketing is working. We've sold hundreds of houses. But when I looked at what came to the market with us this weekend, I can see there were 7 other listings in our price point. So our landscape has changed. We have more competitors than buyers, and that's something that's different. We're going to see how that progresses. And I put a link for those properties that came to the market with us below. I also put a link for everything in our competitive pool, no matter what type of property it is, because we know that buyers choose location and price point before everything else. So we're just going to keep our eye on anything that happens so that we can keep you updated going forward. I'll be back to you with an offer or next week with an update.
yeah,
So then when I go next week, It's the first time that we actually talk about solds and pendings. And what I showed them is properties that came new in the last 7 days. So these are our new competitors. Properties that changed in price in the last 7 days. Properties that are that sold, and properties that are pending now. And then my video is just talking about it. Hey, this is pretty interesting. We did see one of our competitors go pending. It's only been a week, so I think that they actually might have been having an offer at the time we were coming to the market. So we want to see, was the market good to them? Was the market harsh? Let's see how this lands together, and then we're going to go from there. I also noticed these two other properties are pending, and these ones definitely stole our buyer. They were going head to head with us. They're in the same neighborhood. They're kind of appealing to the same group. So that's also something good to notice. Good to know that that tough competition is out of our way, but we got to be careful where we're standing because it looks like not everybody gets an offer. So by showing them what came to the market, you help them understand that it's not just them and a buyer. There's other players. By telling them that that people make price changes, it's social proof that so can you. This is part of how to play the game. Showing them things that sold is examples of success stories. So you should talk about that. The more in line we are with these, the more likely we are too to get an offer. And then finally, the stuff that's pending right now, well, that's like the sizzle. That's like the things that happen. Like these guys went pending 2 days ago. That could have been you.
No.
And that'll keep them from like going head in the sand.
It'd be a good thing to start tracking, or maybe you already do this. Tell me either way. Is like for each listing, and you want to put into the buckets of those who sold quickly, and for your market, that's a relative thing, and those who took a long time to sell. And then track each week from the different platforms how many views, how many impressions, whatever, that like Realtor.ca. We'll use that as the example for now because every listing is going to be on there and everyone is going to have it. How many views did you get on Realtor.ca? And then how many inquiries from that property on Realtor.ca? And then how many book showings? If you track those three numbers on every listing and have them broken down week by week, you can then compare the three because two properties might have the same number of views. But if one has double the inquiry, you know there's an issue there. And then if those inquiries don't book, you know there's another issue there. And you can use that data as you go to be like, hey, by now, normally a property will have this number of views, which means it's one of these issues. And then normally have this many people contact and like, hey, these properties all sold in like 2 weeks, and that's because this many people reached out. This is where they were priced. I think we got to bring your price down because like they're looking at it and realizing it's not to them worth the price.
Yep.
Right. So,
So once you measure these, the idea is to measure things that will be impactful. So what Andrew is saying is, hey, listen, based on the metrics by now of how many people walked by the window of our shop, the door should have opened more than it did by now. You should have had twice as many people come into the shop. So there's something that needs to change.
Yeah. And you need to find
a different way. I tell people often, so I would measure 1,000 listings. So you can go into your MLS, take a look at 1,000 sales. And what you want to determine is how long when you stand still that you die. And what I mean by that is I knew when my market was super slow that if you did 60 days no price changes, you can take the sign off the lawn, it's over. Your probability is less than 1%. So then if I had a listing coming up on 55 days no showings, I could talk to them openly about that and say, hey, listen, once we get to 60 no price changes, the likelihood that you guys see additional showings or anything else like that. So let's talk about it. Has anything changed? Do you guys still plan to sell your house? If your market is incredibly hard, go to your listings once a month and talk to them as though they had never been listed. Hey guys, I did an analysis. If we were coming to the market today, remember what the analysis showed last time as the evidence of where properties are selling? Man, looks like things have moved only 1 month later. Which is good news because you guys are upgrading. And that means that we're going to accept a little bit less, but we're going to get to take a little bit more off that purchase.
I like it. We have a question here from Ed, and it's for you.
So you said that Bomb Video, the principal who you have judged to have the most motivation. Oh, so he's asking if I'm sending it to one. And I'm saying that the reason that I use BombBomb is because I get to go to both people with a video, so tone and inflection, but by email, it's at their convenience instead of trying to get all of us onto the same call.
Yeah, and if you
The
call one,
mistake
it's
I'm
broken
trying to
telephone.
avoid is access to only one, because then I find that the decision maker that's hardest to move is less available to me and is getting secondhand information and often from somebody who doesn't present it well. So that means that I'm less effective. And I think that this is like the biggest hidden problem in real estate is that we have two decision makers and we only talk to the person that wants to move. And man, they're married to the person that doesn't like change. And that person is sinking your battleship over and over again because you don't have access to them.
Yeah, and I think like you either have to do the bomb that gets sent to both type of idea, or you got to go in person and meet with both. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like those are the two kind of options. But I like it's smart like to make sure your message is seen equally by both. Because you got to control because like even just like the way you present the information can change how people perceive it. And that other person, if they have to go broken telephone it, they might not do a good job relaying it. So
And
it's
there's also
important.
other problems. Like if you have anybody who has trouble accommodating showings,
Yeah.
I will lose my mind. So if I have a seller and they keep responding to our showing requests saying like, "Hey, you got a request from 4 to 5. Can we move that to 5 to 6?" Or, "Oh, we couldn't make this one." I'm going to their house. I'm going to their house and I'm saying, "You guys, I can tell you how many showings the average listing has the whole way through and you guys are burning half of them." When you tell them, "Hey, we want to bump you from 4 to 5 to 5 to 6," and then they come back and say, "Sorry, we can't do that. We'll reschedule." Notice how they don't come back? That's because they still went out seeing houses tonight. They just saw everything but yours. So here's the deal. If you are in my listing and I am spending marketing money every day, you accommodate every showing with the property and the best experience that you can bring it. Otherwise, we're just not going to be effective. And I think you could work with any agent in the marketplace. You just don't need me. You're going to continue to own this property. So I argue that you're not going to need a realtor at all.
No.
But yeah, that really burns me.
And that's where just again tracking listing to listing your data and averages like and then for the right people you can throw that into a graph where you just have it their listing kind of overlaid on top of the average one. But again, that depends who your client is if they want information presented that way. Like some people do not want to look at graphs and they're just like, kill me now. Other people are like, they'll pour over every graph imaginable. Um, so it's about knowing who your client is. But yeah, like you always have to try and say like you're their advisor during this. Like that's where it does you a disservice if you get the listing by telling them a price that it isn't, right? Like that's a pretty common
Or
thing.
manage it that way. Like talk to them
Yeah.
like this doesn't matter. Like if they don't care about selling this house and you don't care about selling this house, who's going to care?
Yeah.
So when I come and I talk direct to the sellers, I tell them, "Listen, you guys said you wanted to move and I believed you.
Yeah.
So we're doing it now."
Who was it on this show who we were talking to? I forget who it was. Where at the listing presentation, or maybe it's you, and we just haven't talked about it yet. Um, who they record at the listing presentation, like they actually get a voice note of them saying why they're moving.
It wasn't me, but it
Okay.
sounds interesting.
So what they do is they do that at the moment when they're most excited about the process. And so when they're talking about like, and they normally record it around when they're talking about like the house they're going to, why they're doing it. And then if the people start fighting them, they play them the recording to remind them of why they're moving. It's
Hmm.
like you hear the excitement, like where did this go? I know sometimes because like sometimes the process can get you down, right? And they get frustrated and be like, well, remember why we're doing it in your own words.
Yeah, and also keep your eye on the prize. So
Yeah,
if they're doing it to go buy another house, you need to talk to them about other houses. No
yeah,
one wants to sell their house. They only want the money to go do other things.
yeah,
Selling sucks. Like if you actually
yeah,
talk to most people, they're not excited about it.
yeah.
Okay, so I got good news and bad news, Andrew. The good news is that you picked a great topic. Where we can obviously see that there's lots of people that are interested in how we're doing this and how this can be done and working out this idea with us. And the bad news is that you had some great ideas about what to do before, during, and after price changes, and we just didn't get there.
Part two next week.
See, that's good news again. We
Yeah.
have a plan for next week. So next week we're going to talk about price changes, and it's mainly going to be from when to do them, how much you need to change. Then we're going to talk about before the price change, during the price change, after the price change, so that we can be effective in making it happen. Because this is both sales and marketing, but I argue that a price change is a marketing tool. You change the audience, and then the sales is there for those conversations for cash once they start to happen.
Yeah. And we are going to be moving to the after show. I only have about 15 minutes because then I'm solo parenting this week, so I got to go pick
This
up the kids from school.
So for those people that are
So
listening on YouTube, we're about to
15
shut it down
minutes.
for you guys,
Yeah.
but we're taking everybody who wants to the after show, and we're actually going to stay until it kind of boils. Andrew's got a heart out, but if you guys are asking questions, we'll stick around, and otherwise, this could be a 4 minute after show.
It's
So
true.
if we've just killed everything and you got nothing to talk about, then no
Yeah.
problem, we're done.
All right. So see you guys next week. If you're watching the replay, show up live next time because I'll put the link in the description, right? It's going to be here, 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 or there, depending on which platform you're watching this
Yes,
on.
it
Or
will
if,
be one of
yeah,
the exit locations for the airplane.
yeah, you're good. So stick around if you are here live. Everyone else, see you next week.